Hi, you guys. I'm Becky Page. I'm one of your diamonds sharing these Diamond for Days tips. And today I'm going to share what I call my one-hit wonder. It's a talk that I've shared for probably over a decade in my old counseling practice. Back when I was a practicing therapist, I would have this talk with clients on a daily basis. And if you've heard me talk before, there's a good chance that you've heard some of this, but it's that good. It's a one-hit wonder, but it's a hit that needs to be a one-hit wonder, right? Okay, so today I wanted to talk with you guys about mindset. You've heard about mindset before, but if I could go back and tell January 2014 Becky Page how important this topic would be, then I could have changed the trajectory of my journey in Plexus. So it's something that I continue to need help practicing. In fact, at the end of this talk, I'm going to share with you some work that I've been doing with someone who offers me coaching, who helps kind of counsel me. So I'll give you an example. But before we go there, I want to talk with you a little bit about your brain. And none of this is new. In fact, a lot of the books on mindset are going to discuss something called the neuroplasticity of your brain. And that's just a big fancy way to say that your brain is not static. It's not set. In fact, we can change or rewire our brains. And that's partly why we think the way we do. We have wired our brain since birth, since childhood. A lot of us have been working on thoughts and belief patterns that we've held on to for so long that we don't even realize they're there anymore. Case in point is, if I were to have you tell me your shower routine, like exactly what you do in the shower and when, it would probably be really hard for you to think about it. You'd have to really sit back and go, what do I do in the shower? But when you get in the shower, it comes naturally, right? Like, I don't know, maybe you start with shampoo. I don't. But then what do you do next? How do you work the conditioner through your hair? When do you shave your legs? How does all that stuff happen? You don't even think about it. It's rote. Your body does it, boom, without even thinking about it. That's how our minds work. A lot of times we don't spend enough time thinking about how and why we think. But if you want to be successful in this business, I got to tell you guys, this is the key. It is just as important as IPA. In fact, you can do IPA, and if you don't have a good mindset, you're fighting against yourself, because how you think and respond in this business can predict your success. So, not to put too fine a point on it, but this is a big deal. Your brain has neuroplasticity. What that means is that there are neuropathways, little passages in your brain that are deeply formed. Let me give you an analogy to help you think about this. Let's imagine that you live in a cool old cabin in the woods off a dirt road, and you have a really awesome old Jeep, and you drive that Jeep to work every day. Okay, if I have you imagine it, think about what happens to that dirt road when you leave your house, get in your cool Jeep, drive to work, be at work during the day, and then drive back. What do you think happens every day to that road? It gets ruts in it, right? As it should. That's the way life works. Travel back and forth enough times, there's going to be ruts in the road. That's what your brain is like. That's what I mean by neuropathways. It's the passages that your thoughts take each day. So if I were to ask you then to get in your Jeep and try to stay out of those ruts, it would be a difficult task. You would have to work really hard to try to pop up out of those ruts, and it'd probably be pretty bumpy and difficult for a while. That's what mindset work is like. So let's talk about how can you change your brain. One of the first things you have to do is, if you're stuck, to get unstuck, you have to, number one, identify those thoughts that keep you stuck. I would just say it this way. They're thoughts that don't help you, okay? So you've got to identify them first. For some of us, for me personally, and I'd say plenty of other people in this business, thoughts of comparison, like, gosh, if only I, had a situation like hers or his, I'd be doing better. Well, is it true? I don't know. Here's what I do know. It's not helpful. It doesn't really work for me to compare myself to someone else. Oh, she's got older kids, so she has more time. Or, you know what? She doesn't have to work like I do. Or, yeah, but he has a huge network. Those kind of thoughts aren't helpful. The other might be comparing your strengths to someone else's. Oh, she's just a natural introvert or extrovert, so public speaking comes naturally to her. Is that a helpful thought for you? No. So you've got to do the hard work of identifying those thoughts first. One of the ways that you can identify a thought that isn't helpful is just pay attention to what some of your natural reactions are when you're asked to do something in Plexus that you don't feel comfortable with. Just pay attention. You're not judging yourself. You're just trying to get those down. Oh, I see that I tend to think this way when somebody challenges me to do something that's either uncomfortable or a little bit scary. Write that thought down. What is that thought? Okay, let me share with y'all something that I recently learned about myself. And by recently, I mean like 2 weeks ago. A very unhelpful thought for me, and I can't even tell you how many times I've had this thought in the past 3.5 years with Plexus, is that I just don't do numbers well. It's really hard for me because Plexus has a lot of numbers. It has points that I need to keep track of on a daily basis, by the way. That's a tip for another day, but I keep track of my points every day because I compare them. Or when someone asks me the dreaded, well, how much PV is that? Or, okay, well, how much is that if it's retail? How much is that if it's preferred? Oh, my brain just kind of locks up and I don't like numbers. I have to go figure them out. Of course, I'm getting a phone call right now. Hang on. Of course, it's Rachel and Eagle calling me in the middle of my tip. Real life, y'all. So I was telling someone that coaches me, I'm not good at administration. I'm not good at the details of numbers. It's even hard for me to think numbers and help set a goal for myself or help set a goal for someone in my downline. And she said to me, can you try saying that a different way? And me being a smart therapist, I was like, oh, I'd like to grow in the areas of numbers. She goes, no, that's not cutting it. I was like, well, what do you want me to say? She said, how about this? I'm growing more and more every day in my knowledge, understanding, and comfort in the use of numbers. My immediate thought was, but that's not true. She said, Becky, you can program your brain. Like, you're going to tell your brain that that's true. So I wrote it down. And now every time the thought comes, oh, that's a numbers question, or that's an issue around numbers, I find myself saying, I'm growing more and more every day in my knowledge, understanding, and comfort with the use of numbers. And you know what happens? I start to rewire my brain. So that leads me to tip number 2. First, you identify the thoughts that don't help you. Those are ruts in the road. 2, you replace that thought with a new helpful one, like the one I just shared with you. And guys, it's not enough to just write it down. You have to practice it. You have to do that hard work of getting your Jeep out of the rut, of bumping along that road that feels uncomfortable. It's not comfortable. That's a mindset shift. It's like a whole new exercise, and yet it's way harder than any CrossFit class. It is really pushing yourself to think differently. Oh, I just wish I could like plug it in for each of you and do it for you. And then the brilliant number 3 is you hit repeat on that thought. It's not once a day. It's every time that thought comes up. You hit repeat on the new helpful thought. It is a practice. That's how you end up changing your mindset. So it sounds simple. It's not. You will have to develop a brain that moves and functions the way that you tell it to, just like a computer would. The information you enter is what stays there. That's where I'd like to challenge you guys today. I'm not giving you tips on products, although I'll tell you, if you tell yourself you're not good at products, then I have a good replacement thought for you, and that is I am learning to be very efficient in understanding our products and how they work, and I am growing more and more comfortable in recommending products to my downline and to my customers. Do you hear it? You guys can do this. I pray that as you listen, that God will trigger some conviction about some thoughts that you're having that aren't working for you, and that you'll start to journal and get it down. And then even, if you really want to do some good work, put it on a note card and put that card or that sticky note somewhere where you're going to see it often, and you're going to have to practice working on that. I will tell you that every person has to work on mindset. It is an exercise that if we don't employ, we stay stuck. Good luck to you guys. We're for you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and thanks for listening.